recording. All right, so everyone, welcome to exploring the BTI Benchmarking Law Firm LinkedIn Performance Report and how you can harness the power of LinkedIn. And Michael, just let me know, can you see the slides?
It all looks good.
All right, so no technical issues here. So we have a very jam-packed webinar for you all today. So don't feel again like you have to take copious notes. You will get a copy of this presentation and of the slides. If you would like to tweet or post about today's webinar and some takeaways, please do so. Please follow me and Michael on social media and our respective blogs. You can find links to those in there. And of course, buy the report, because you're only getting a little bit of a snippet today of everything that is actually in that report. And I saw it and it is very meaty. So Michael, will you tell us about you, including how to pronounce your last name, which I know a lot of people wonder about, including myself?
Well, the first line, if you look at the slide, gives you two phonetic pronunciations. I go with Reinowesser. I have two adult sons. Each one says the last name a little differently, so that's always interesting. But I've been doing this for more than 30 years. That is, researching and talking to clients and understanding what clients do and what law firms do. We have more than 24,000 client feedback interviews that we've done both independently and for clients. And, you can read the rest. I spent 10 years at PwC as a timekeeper, practice leader. I blog at the Mad Clientist for those of you that have not seen it, and invite you to join me. But this is a long-winded way of saying I've been doing this for a very long time.
It is a long time. And you know what? Hard to believe I've been doing this for a really long time too. So I've been in this industry for 20 plus years. I was in-house at Paul Weiss, Sullivan and Cromwell, Mayer Brown, Morrison and Foerster, Proskauer, and then I moved over to small and mid-sized law firms where I was CMO, and now I am an outsourced marketer for small and mid-sized law firms. I work with big firms as well, and I manage the LinkedIn profiles of many law firms that will remain nameless. I like to think of myself as a secret weapon, doing strategy, training, and management of their pages. And I also do lots of content marketing, social media stuff. So that is me. I live in New York, like I said, with my two French bulldogs, and they may make an appearance on this webinar. If so, I apologize in advance. So why we are all here, this new report. So here's how today is going to work. Michael's going to talk about the research, some of the key findings. I'm going to talk about what law firms can actually do to implement the key findings and make their company pages better. Then I'm going to do a Q&A with Michael on some of the issues that I saw in the report and some questions that were sent over to us via this webinar sign up. And if you have questions, put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A. Actually, the Q&A is a better place so I can actually see them. I'm monitoring them, and we'll try to get to them at the end. What we don't get to, we will follow up in a blog post, in a social media post, and whatever it is. And again, we encourage you to post about today if you found it interesting. And even if you don't, fine, post about it anyway. So Michael, let's dive in. And I can tell you guys, so I've been a firm believer of the power of LinkedIn long before most law firms were in agreement, right? I worked for a firm, Michael, that will remain nameless, that looked at me and was like, why do we need to care about LinkedIn? And now they have 6 people managing their social media department, which is kind of interesting. But I was an early adopter. So when I saw this report and Michael told me about it, I wanted to have my name involved. I wanted to be involved. There really isn't anything like this out there. And I am a firm believer of the value of the BTI Consulting Group's research and how it really is substantive and really does get at the heart at what we should be caring about. So that is my introduction, Michael, to say that I think this is very valuable and useful for everyone. So take us through this survey.
First, I think what's important is, this started about 3 years ago when we noticed that clients and through our independent research were starting to tell us They were going to LinkedIn, they were using LinkedIn in different ways, they were starting to learn more about their attorneys. So, we immediately started tracking all this, and we developed this approach where we went in and started mining all the data, because as you know, Stephanie, there's no other way to get data except about yourself. So we went through, we gathered about 19 different metrics for 220 firms in each of the last 3 years. We pulled all that together, trying to find the metrics that made the most sense, because some are revealing, some are helpful but not so helpful. And then we decided on really 9 that we would focus on. And then as we did that and did all the calculations, we pulled all this together to try to find what were the strategies behind the firms that do really well, and maybe learn from the firms that have some kind of misleading statistics. One of the key aspects of doing this, I have to just take a second. Joy Harnois, who I know is on, was just an essential part of pulling all this together from day one to literally the day it got completed, and probably was a driving force behind this. Also a shout out to Jennifer Marcus for helping to gather the 11,000 pieces of data that we put together to come up with this report. So it was a long, meticulous, insightful process.
Okay, I'm guessing I'm doing a bad job at being Vanna White right now. Okay.
So, one of the things that came out, Stephanie, and to the entire group, is that 83% of clients are using LinkedIn in one form or another. The most stunning part is the 52% that use it daily. And I have to stop and ask you to think about that. Every single day, these corporate counsel, from general counsel down to the newest member, most junior member of their staff, are going online. They're going into LinkedIn just to stay ahead, to learn, to kind of gather information. And what they love about it is it's one-stop shopping. They go there, they can recruit, they can check out jobs for themselves, they see what their attorneys are doing, they see who reaches out to them, who doesn't reach out to them, who's talking about what kinds of issues when. All these things, they not only inform them, they kind of provide a little break during the day that actually energizes them. So, there's so many benefits that come from it. They're going, 2 to 3 times daily. Then you've got another, just under a quarter that are going 2 to 3 times a week. They haven't embraced it like the first 52% yet. They probably will. But the point is, multiple times a week. They want to go, they want to learn, they want to see. You got a few you can see at the 9% that are going weekly. Then you've got a group that 6% basically aren't going, and the rest occasionally we'll call it when they're going maybe twice per month. The point is that the bulk of clients are there. They will be there more, and the more they go, the more influence it has. So whenever, I'm sure everyone on this webinar, their partners are extraordinarily supportive, but for those of you who don't have supportive partners, this is your statistics that say this is where clients are. It's just that simple. And you want to be where clients are. And one of the trends, interestingly, we're seeing, Stephanie, is that clients are starting to tell us that when they look for the awards and the rankings, they're going to LinkedIn first to see if they're there. So it's really becoming the first stop. And if I'm thinking about my social media, if I'm thinking about my digital marketing, if this is the first stop, well, then, I really need to think about what I'm doing and how I'm investing in it and how I'm doing against other firms. Because if it's the first stop and then they veer off to another firm, we've kind of lost the battle.
Yeah, I mean, 52%, Michael, is staggering to me when people say, oh, we don't need to be on LinkedIn. We posted it on our website or whatever it is. And, I'll get into this a little bit later, but there are so many firms that treat LinkedIn as an extension of their website, simply reposting the things on the news section of their website or events. And that's not how you should be utilizing your LinkedIn company page. I mean, yes and no, there are, certain things that will disseminate on those pages verbatim, maybe, or just, changing them a little bit, but there's so much more you can do. So think about this, almost 75% of your clients are on LinkedIn at least 2 to 3 times a week, if not daily. Okay. And like, if you do the math, which I'm not great at math, more than 80% are on every week. So if you're not investing in LinkedIn, you are not really tapping the full potential of what you could be doing to brand your firm and bring in leads potentially by social media. We'll get into that in a little bit.
And Stephanie, I think it's important, right after we released the report, we found out and we calculated that the LinkedIn traffic for a given law firm is more than twice what it is for their website. It's probably multiples of that, but we use the most conservative numbers we could find. So the traffic numbers are there as well.
And that is irrespective of the size of the firm, from what I read as well, right?
That's correct. This is for every law firm. There are no law firms that are immune from this.
Yeah, and I know there was a question about plaintiff side versus non-plaintiff side. I don't know that the research delved into that, so I don't think we can answer that question, but I will tell you that the advice you're hearing today is for law firms of every size. I do think there are a lot of things big law needs to pay attention to, because they're the ones with that huge built-in audience, but they don't have the engagement that the smaller firms have, Michael, which leads, I think, really well into this slide.
Right. So if you look at this, what we did is we aggregated the numbers for what we call the AmLaw 30 plus. So we took the AmLaw 30 and we added, the Magic Circle firms, we added at Denton's, and because we wanted to make sure that we had the major firms. And there, if you look at the slide, they're all the way over on the right. Then we had what we call the AmLaw 31 to 100, which sometimes I'll refer to as the mid-size firms in the middle. And then you've got the AmLaw second 100, which is 101 to 200 all the way up top. The bottom axis is followers. The vertical axis is engagement. So what you've got is, if you look at it, the AmLaw 30, are crushing followers. They've got, there's a few firms with 350,000, 300,000, 280,000 followers. They just own it. But if you come over and look at engagement, AmLaw second 100 firms are kind of really owning the whole engagement thing. So they have dramatically fewer followers, but they're highly engaged. AmLaw 31 to 100 still doing much better than the AmLaw 30 plus on engagement, but don't have the followers. So when you look at this, one of the things that we learned, or what we concluded, is that, first, followers are awesome, but engagement trumps followers. Because engagement says these people that are following you are interested. They've got some level of investment, whether it be a psychic investment, whether it be an investment in a relationship, whatever it is, the more investment, the more likely they are to have an inbound lead, become a client, give you more work if you are a client. This is a relationship builder. It's proven. So we're always managing followers, but if I'm not in the AmLaw 30, I'm looking at those AmLaw 30 with all those followers, and I'm saying, okay, if I'm sitting at the AmLaw 30, I have the reverse issue. How do I engage this? How do I engage all these followers? Because that's their opportunity. And what that does is that compels the other firms to, even though you're owning the engagement now, how do we up our game? How do we get better? And that's going to be kind of the defining issue as you move forward, getting more levels of engagement, more ways to engagement. And if I'm an AmLaw 30 plus, it's how do I engage? Because my audience is so large. And how do I come up with a content for the span of interests of those followers. And a lot of the followers have very high expectations of these Am Law 30 plus firms. That's why they signed up, because they want to learn, they expect. So we're calling this an open horse race at the moment, because we're in such an early stage of this. The Am Law 30 can change their strategies. The Am Law, kind of 30 plus all the way down to 200 can change their strategies. And the question is, we're at the beginning of the tidal wave here. How do we position ourselves? What do we do to make sure we stay and get better from where we are? So this is the kind of the proof in the pudding that, yep, everyone's still defining their strategy. We've got leaders on each side. How do we make that move forward to our advantage?
And this is so important, this slide. So I also want everybody to remember the fact that there is a whole secret audience of people who are not following your law firm company page. They are still engaging. They're still looking. I call them the lurkers or the silent audience. So research is only as good as research can be. But remember, there are people who don't follow the firm, who look up the firm and look at the news going on at the firm. If you have not looked at the followers of your firm, that, 5,000 number, the 50,000 number, the 200,000 number, if you're a super admin, you can click on that number and you can actually see who follows your firm. You should be looking at that. You can actually, by the way, now see which firms or other companies are following your company page. This is a new feature of LinkedIn. This is a treasure trove of information. There's a lot of random followers in there, but you might find competitors, you might find clients. But remember, you don't know the full universe of the people following the firm, because they may not actively hit that follow button. So just keep that in mind. And I'm going to talk about the nuances of the LinkedIn algorithm and how difficult LinkedIn makes it for people to see your content. But this, I want to make sure everyone realizes. The DLA Pipers of the world and the Baker McKenzies of the world have hundreds of thousands of followers. And if you look at the number of likes on their posts, many of them are very low. And I will give you my reason for that a little bit later, which dovetails with Michael's research. But there's a huge opportunity for big firms, but also small and mid-sized firms, because I'm seeing a lot more engagement on their posts, which also confirms what you found here. There's opportunity for everybody. I can't even believe, Michael, we're saying we're just on the tip of the iceberg, because I've been literally talking about this for over 10 years. So I'm glad that everybody is finally getting on the bandwagon. All right, so this is really good stuff, you guys. So Michael, take us through this.
Okay, well, we found a couple of things that will really drive engagement and attract more followers. First is counterintuitive, and my heart goes out to everyone who's trying to convince the attorneys to do this, because often they're reluctant. But when we work with some of our clients, they'll send us their posts, or they'll send us their thought leadership. And one of the first things I do is I go to the end and I take the last paragraph, and I often suggest they move it to the front. It's their first paragraph, because that's the conclusion. And one of the things that, LinkedIn readers want is, if they see a post that starts with, it's a competitive market, or it's a new world, it's like, okay, I've seen that 700 times, so I'm not going to read this post. But if they want the conclusion, they want to know why they should read it. You've got about 7 seconds. There are some people that say you have less. The point being is, you got to put the most compelling thing you've got in front of them, and it's not going to be your intro. It's going to be the end. If I were going to say pick one thing, I would say, that would probably be it. I don't want to reread these, but the other one, if I had to bet, which is a little counterintuitive, is I would go over to the right, where we talk about gamifying support by the partners. And it's a little counterintuitive in some ways, because some firms will say to me, well, we can't ask our partners to engage in a contest, but every firm we've ever done this with has had amazing success. So what you do is you set up a few rules, which is, okay, we're going to give some kind of prize or award. It could be a spa day. It could be one firm gave custom golf clubs or a spa weekend. They give wine, they give vacation, all kinds of things, dinners. And what they do is they say the practice group that puts up the most number of comments. Now understand, not just comments, but right now, LinkedIn algorithm says they will recognize comments that are 12 words or greater.
Yeah, and meaningful. They can't just be like, great post, thanks for sharing.
So the practice group with the most number of meaningful comments gets a prize. And you could do it by practice, you could do it by office. We had one firm that did it by law school. Okay. The point is, it engages so many. The competition that you can engender in a positive and friendly way, it does exactly what you want, which is every time they make a comment, it goes out to their network, it goes out to your network, and then you kind of get a multiplier effect. So, this is really, really, powerful in terms of what you're going to do. I know that Stephanie, will tell you and has told you at least 100 times, post your content often. Our calculations say between 7 and 11 times to make sure it gets seen. I don't think that's too far off of what you were saying, Stephanie, but the points are there.
And the weekends, though, that's what I found. Someone, the weekends work, you guys. Like, it's not just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And Mondays are not very good, to be honest, in my opinion. But you have to take in your time zone into consideration as well. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I'm going to talk to you guys about how to multiply your content, repurpose it. But I thought the 7 to 11 times was really interesting. People worry, Michael, about oversaturation. And there is no such thing because the algorithm works against you. So you're not spamming anybody. And that's something I want to mention too.
Yeah, I just saw one of the questions pop up, like from, I'm going to guess 5 or 6 people that, what if you posted 7 to 11 times and the same people see it 7 to 11 times? My 2 comments are, first, what we have found and the research proves conclusively is people actually like to see it multiple times. They will read it a second time and a third time because they pick up something new. If they see it more than that, most of them just smile and they say, we know what you're doing. We understand you're trying to get your content out. They think that's great. So I just, I don't see that as a big issue. The research suggests it's not a big issue. And, the more the merrier for the most part.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you that I think that it shouldn't be the exact same piece of content, and I'm going to show you how to change it. But you can take one alert and post it multiple times in different ways. And so I don't believe in just taking the same piece of content and posting it a million times. Personally, I believe in repurposing. We'll get into that in a little bit. I want to add one tactic here. So you've got invite clients, semi-annually, this should be on your every email blast. It should be in your email signature. In addition to having your LinkedIn URL for individual lawyers, you should be having a link to the LinkedIn company page. And I find most law firms do not do that. So think about doing that here. Michael, is there anything else here or before I move on to the next slide?
No, I think, in the interest of time, we should probably move on.
Okay. Got it. All right. There's so much here. Again, you will get these slides. So we're going to go back. I have a bunch of questions for Michael. And if you want me to ask Michael specific questions, I can't promise I'll ask him everything, but put it in the Q&A, not the chat. Okay. So just because you have a lot of followers on LinkedIn does not mean you're doing a great job on your LinkedIn company page. And this is something to be very aware of. Like, there are firms in the report, Michael, that you found have thousands of followers who've never posted, which I thought was really interesting. And I asked you about that the other day, and you said to me, there's an expectation, or these people want to learn about the firms. If your firm does not post on LinkedIn or post sporadically, and you have thousands of followers, guess what you need to do? You need to have a LinkedIn strategy tomorrow, okay? Because they want to hear from you, and your competitors are doing this. So why aren't you doing this, okay? And there's so much opportunity here, and the bar is somewhat low in some areas. There are some firms doing a fantastic job. What you will see in the report is that the number of followers is not tied to the success of an organization. And I've been saying that for years. Michael, you agree with me on that, right? The number of
Absolutely.
followers on
Absolutely.
LinkedIn is not tied to the success of an organization. It just means that there are a lot of people who want to know about that firm. And so you're doing yourselves a disservice if you're posting the same stuff everybody else is posting, or the same generic, boring content. Or, I find sometimes we all act, and listen, I'm an in-house marketer as well. Like, I get it. Like, we're operating on such a high volume that we just have to push out content. But, and there are pieces that you won't be able to focus a lot of attention on, but there are pieces that you will, and those are the ones where you need to spend a little bit more time being creative. But I want you to know that regardless if you have 1,000 lawyers at your firm or 10, there's opportunity for everybody here. And I mentioned this before, but there's that silent audience of people on LinkedIn who may pop up every now and then with a like or a comment, but for the most part, they are not engaging. Okay, so the research can't fully capture that. You need to remember that and still post because of those people. People are hearing your name every day, right? They're going on Google. They're likely not going to the law firm website. I know that they're going to LinkedIn profiles, company pages, lawyers. And so you got to make sure all of this is optimized, okay? People are consuming content every single day. There is no way to export your followers on LinkedIn easily. I've heard somebody say you can do a plugin or something. There's no easy way to do it. So you want to go back and find the 10,000 people who follow you. Good luck. You're going to be scrolling for a really long time, and it's not going to let you go back the whole time. So I have a couple solutions that I do for my clients with respect to that. But just as important as who follows you publicly is who you don't know who follows you. So keep that in mind. Most GCs aren't necessarily like dying to get your updates, but they certainly are going on LinkedIn and typing in the firm name. Okay. So there's no reason for your page to seem boring or sound like everybody else's. And these are some of the reasons why I have found most LinkedIn company pages are boring. And listen, by the way, I'm completely guilty of posting this kind of content on LinkedIn company pages because we simply have to. I'm going to try and show you a better way. There's a lot of legal jargon. There's a lot of generic posts about, oh gosh, awards and new hires. I think a lot of you know how I feel about the posts that are all about, we're honored and humbled to announce. Storytelling can be used with pretty much every firm about a matter, about an award win, about a report, about a PR victory. It just requires a little bit more time and effort and not utilizing the same formula. The biggest issue I find is that the content is not written for clients. And that's the biggest mistake I see. If it's clients or alumni or, your recruits or a whole bunch of those populations, you're not creating content for for lawyers. For clients, you're creating content for other lawyers at other firms. And then boastful content. So there's a way to promote your successes without turning off your audience, okay? All of these things are important. We need to do all of these things. The other thing that the research backed up, which Michael said, 7 to 11 times, and I wholeheartedly agree. The more you post on LinkedIn, the more likely your firm will generate active engagement. Okay, here's what I want to say about this. Number one, there is absolutely no way for every single person who follows your company page to see all of your posts. In fact, there's no way. The odds are against you. The only way that you have a chance of this is by sending out a LinkedIn newsletter. And I don't know if any of your firms do that. If you do, put it in the chat. But did you know that LinkedIn recently changed it so you can have up to 5 newsletters per company and per person? So this helps firms that didn't want to choose one LinkedIn newsletter and wanted to have multiple ones. So you could do industry-specific newsletters. You could do a CSR and diversity one. You can do a corporate one, whatever it may be. LinkedIn newsletters go directly to each of your followers by the notification section in LinkedIn and via email. Okay. And if anyone is seeing really good newsletters on LinkedIn, I would love to see, put a link to it. It looks like in the comments, some of you are doing this. Yes, you can repurpose your blog post. Here's something you should put in your LinkedIn newsletter. A synopsis, a compilation of all your blog posts over the past month, past week, past 2 weeks. Little synopses that take people to your website, okay? You hit a different audience. And to Michael's point, maybe they saw it somewhere, but people are so busy, they don't remember what they ate for breakfast yesterday, let alone what you posted. Michael, what did you eat for breakfast yesterday? Did you even remember?
I don't know. I was too busy working on my LinkedIn blog post.
Right? See? Okay. So you've just proven my point. Thank you. So the other thing is that repurposed content becomes an integral part of your strategy. Okay. This is the key to success on LinkedIn for any size firm. Let me go back one thing on the more you post. You should be posting every single day, at least once a day. You should not be posting one post after another. And there is no way to spam people. And to that end, there's really no way a company page can go viral unless your employees help it go viral. That is the only way. Okay. Period. Put it on my tombstone. Okay. So most firms do what I call one and done. They take the time to create great content. It never sees the light of day. Again, a huge mistake, huge time waster. It's not about just posting it once and that's the end of it. You can reuse that content. And, we talked about this. How often should you be posting? Try for 5 days a week. If you have more content, try 7 days a week. Use the automated tools out there that you can post on the weekend. You have to play around with this. Those of you with global practices, global firms, you need to make sure that you're posting content that's relevant in the time zone of the people that are relevant to you as well. And you don't need to, I know you know this already, but the scheduling tools, so you don't need to stay up all night to do this. You need to play around with this. If you're not looking at your analytics to tell you what's doing well and trying to draw conclusions about, we posted this on Thursday at 9 a.m., this other kind of post, webinar post that we do the day before gets more traction. Or when we do a look at our employees' lives on a Friday, that tends to do really well. You need to draw conclusions, and that's going to be different for every single firm. Okay, so we can give you some ideas and some advice, but you won't be able to know everything about how it's going to work. And the other thing is Michael said this, and the research said this, you should read his blog. Your employees are the key to your success on LinkedIn. One of the things I saw in the research, Michael, was that many law firm partners are not engaging with content that their firms are posting. And that, you said, is a huge mistake. I've been saying that for years. If you're not investing in training for your partners and employees, you are not going to reach the full potential of your LinkedIn profile and the ability to be seen by a lot of people, because you want to tap into the valuable networks of the lawyers who work at your firm to connect with their clients and prospects who probably are not following your firm. And even if they are, they may not see your firm's content. Okay. So if you don't have your employees sharing and liking your content won't go anywhere. This is why I think many of the big firms have a problem with the content. And I know it is not easy to get your lawyers to share the posts. And I know that there are a lot of tools out there that automate this. The problem I have with the automated tools is that it doesn't allow you to put your own spin on the content. So I don't love that instant repost feature. It depends. Like, I want to know sometimes why somebody's sharing something, but you have to also manage the firm's brand with the lawyer's brand. And sometimes the lawyer's brand is going to be more important and more helpful for getting traction to getting clients and getting traction on your LinkedIn company page. So you have to invest in both of these. And, this study was about company pages, but we could look into the success factors of lawyers themselves and extrapolate lots of things that dovetail with this survey. But I want to make sure that you know that lawyers' participation is essential. So firms should be investing in training their lawyers on how to use LinkedIn effectively and how to share and post content. Okay. And so your firm leaders, yes, 100%, they should be posting, they should be liking, they should be sharing. That will usually make sort of like a domino effect of other people at the firm. And remember, you can't spam people. Another thing firms can do is, and firm administrators, you can do this. You can post your LinkedIn company page posts in relevant groups. Go for the groups with more than 10,000 people, industry groups, M&A groups, securitization groups. You have an upcoming webinar, thought leadership piece. You can take that post and automatically, just by changing the audience when you're hitting post, put it in a group. That has been one of the key factors of success that I've had for many of my clients. Okay. You can invite connections to follow your page. We each get 250 of those. That may not be a big deal to big firms, but the right people following your page is more important than 10,000 of the wrong people. So you should actually use that 250 connections you have per month and make sure the right people are following you. We're not going to talk about paid LinkedIn today, but you certainly can use that. Creating an event from your LinkedIn company page will draw a whole new audience to your LinkedIn company page. This is promoting a webinar, promoting some sort of thought leadership survey that is, you're releasing the results, whatever it is, a LinkedIn Live. Did you know that company pages can do LinkedIn Lives? And you should. It's another way to utilize your podcast content, okay? So sharing job postings, probably one of the best ways to get people to follow your page. Did you know that when somebody follows your LinkedIn company page and applies to a job, when someone applies to a job, the default is to follow that page. So that's the sneaky thing that LinkedIn did there. Okay. So how do we create better content for LinkedIn company pages? Many of you may already know this. I'm reiterating some of these things, but I think it's important that we all make sure we're all on the same page. You shift the focus from posting about, talking to other lawyers at other firms, to engaging storytelling. And it can be done for any post, a Chambers Award. It can be done for a Matter victory. It can be done for a client alert. And it just takes a little more time. You won't be able to do this for every post, but you should pick and choose those posts that deserve this more attention. Providing valuable insights. Probably the thing I find the most challenging for law firms with regard to blog posts and client alerts is that they don't always have insights in them at the last couple of lines, or there should be some sort of key takeaways. Don't just report on a victory or case law. What insights can you provide? Actively engaging with your followers and your audience. So this is hard. And I know that most law firms don't necessarily want to engage or can engage, or they're not sure what to post, or their clients aren't saying anything in the comments. And that's okay. This may or may not be an issue for you, but this does help. Individuals should definitely be doing that. And then use a mix of content formats and compelling images. This is probably the best advice I could give you when it comes to posting content. You've got to have compelling visuals. You've got to have interesting things that people can, whether it's a podcast, copy, text, or you've got videos. You want to engage with a multitude of people in a multitude of ways. Okay. So I'm not going to go through everything here. You will get the slides, but speaking human, telling stories, showcasing your expertise, fostering engagement, investing in training, diversification of content. So I just went through all of those things. Tailoring your content to your audience, staying updated and relevant, showcasing your firm's human side. You may have found this, but the posts that do the best are the posts that talk about something you're sponsoring, something, breast cancer walk, an employee Q&A, those sorts of things. Make sure you're using your analytics and look outside the industry for inspiration. I regularly get inspiration from other industries that really, I look at the accounting firms, I look at financial services firms, I look at tech companies, those all help me. Probably the biggest tool in your toolkit is going to be repurposing content. And this is something you should all be doing regardless of the size of your firm. Just look from one blog post, look at all of the different things I can do. AI makes it easier to do that. Also, if your firm is not using a branded hashtag yet, I really want you to do that. So this isn't because you necessarily think your hashtag is going to go viral. It's not. What it is so you can categorize all of your posts and find them easily, because you won't be able to scroll back from the dawn of time to see all those posts. So you want to use that hashtag on all of your posts, and it should be very simple. Don't get too cute, and make sure if you're using an acronym that you check that acronym, that it doesn't mean something that you don't want it to mean, like a slang word or something, okay? So use this. I think the other tool in everyone's toolkit is owned media, which are the assets that you control. Earned media is very helpful. We have to promote those things, and those are great, but owned media can be really useful as well. This is sort of where it all falls together. You've got a combination of owned media, paid media, which you may be using, and then you've got your so you've got owned, you've got earned, and you've got paid, and then they all sort of combine together and touch each other. So what can you post on your LinkedIn company page that's going to actually resonate with your clients? There are a lot of ideas here. I have ideas here and on the next slide. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them, but there are so many posts. If you again, you don't have to take a screenshot of this, but you'll get the slides, but there are lots of different things here. I wonder how many of you are doing these alumni spotlights. Are you taking your tribute ads? You're sponsoring a golf tournament. Are you then taking that ad, resizing it for social and posting that on social saying that you were proud to support that event? It's going to give you another piece of content. Okay. Repurpose quotes. Every webinar has a plethora of quotes. So from today, I'll give you an example what I'm going to do with this webinar. I'm going to get the transcription of this webinar through Otter. I'm going to turn it into probably one long form article, 3 blog posts, 10 social media posts, quotes, audiogram. I'm going to turn it into a video clip. I'm sure many of you want to watch the full hour, but some of you may be just wanting Michael talking and you'll skip over me. So we'll do some of those. You can turn these posts into so many different pieces of content, and you can do the same for every single webinar, every single podcast. Your firm, if you don't have a podcast, you can make a podcast from all of your webinars, by the way, turn it into a 20-minute segment on a hot topic, okay? You don't have to spend a lot of money doing this. TBT and FBF posts and ICYMI. Those are great ways to reuse things. On this day in history, we, helped X company with this major thing. Throwback Thursday, the day we all wore, I don't know, our branded swag, right? Or the day we all wore ugly sweaters. There's another slide here. So I've got this one and this one. So your evergreen content, a Thanksgiving campaign. So Strzok, God bless Strzok, many years ago, Strzok did a very cool campaign called Strzok's Giving, where they did like a 12 days of during November, and they highlighted their pro bono partners. So it was like, Strzok gives thanks to working with the Humane Society. Strzok gives thanks to working with blank, blank, blank company. I love that idea. Why don't you do something like that? Office highlights, what's going on in your offices, city recommendations. Why don't you ask a lawyer in your Boston office for the hottest restaurants in the Seaport area and maybe the 5 things you should do in Boston in the fall? All of these are things any kind of firm can do. And yes, you are going to have to figure out what makes the most sense for your firm. PDFs of slides, PDFs of client alerts. All of these things are things you can do. Okay, and here are just some posts that I like. It ranges from pro bono to National Receptionist Day, to Veterans Day, to alumni spotlights, to a survey, to firm history, to Q&As. When in doubt, use a Q&A. You can basically repurpose everything. I hope that you are, with permission, copying, recording any media backgrounders that your lawyers do. If you're on the phone with them, helping them, that's a great way to have content for days or weeks afterward. Okay. LinkedIn newsletter should be part of your strategy. I mentioned that. Your LinkedIn banner, you should be changing that and using it as advertising space for your firm. So yes, big firms, you too can do this. You've got an upcoming thought leadership initiative. Maybe it's an event. Maybe you just won a BTI award and you want to put that badge on your LinkedIn company page and show the world. Maybe recruiting is a huge focus of yours, so you then want to put your Vault awards on there. You can change this, I don't know, every month if you wanted to, but most firms don't do anything valuable with the LinkedIn company page banner. They're just simply having the name of the firm. They don't even have the URL of the email. I'm sorry, URL of your website. So utilize this, change it up, make it work for you. You have a big annual event, publish it there. You have a new blog you launched. Maybe you want to publish a teaser about all of your blogs, okay? All right, so now we're going to get into some questions, and I see that there are some questions that have come in. I hope this is all very helpful to you. I have questions that I wanted to ask you, Michael, so I'm going to ask you a few questions. So I want to talk about the fact that there are a number of law firms that have strong followings but aren't posting on LinkedIn. What do you think about that? And what, I mean, our advice is going to be start posting, but what do you think?
I think it speaks to the power of brand. I think it speaks to the risk of brand management, because the firms, which are not all the mega firms, there are mid-sized firms, there are smaller firms that have a fair number of followers for their size, but they're not posting. And what that eventually is going to do is start to devalue the respect for the brand, because the only reason people sign up is because they expect to learn something, whether that's about the law, whether it's about their attorneys, whether it's news, whatever it might be. But if there's just a void, the void always works against you. So to me, you know, if you've got a lot of followers and no engagement, it says good for you. You've got a great brand. Your brand is at risk, because it's unlikely that LinkedIn is, think of LinkedIn as a barometer. Okay, if you've got a lot of followers with no engagement, where else do you have a lot of interest where you're not engaging as well? It's probably a good indicator all over.
Agree with you. In terms of the most surprising thing in the study, so there were two things for me. One of them was the fact that in-house counsel and, you know, clients, as you're defining it, are on LinkedIn as much as they are. I thought they were, but the research confirms it. Michael, what were the most surprising things that you saw from the research?
One, the strength of the smaller and mid-sized firms. The engagement there is just so much higher than the AmLaw, rather the 30 plus. On the flip side of that, I will tell you that we were surprised at the sheer numbers at the largest firms. I mean, hundreds of thousands. That's enormous. What an opportunity if I'm a large firm to say, wow, we can tap, you know. We talk to so many firms, small, medium, and large, that are always scratching their head. How do we get new clients? How do we get new clients? And here we are sitting with hundreds of thousands of corporate counsel that are so interested in us, and we're not talking to them. So we'd say, and I guess the third, if you'll give me a third, would be how the pervasiveness of the use of LinkedIn. We are absolutely convinced this will become the first stop before the website, before they go anyplace else. This will be the centerpiece. It will be I don't know if you want to call it the water cooler. Don't know what the word is, but this will become the gathering point, the starting point. And even though you can't design it in a way that makes it more challenging and in a way that helps you, because you can be more focused on just the content and your strategy, you can't change how it looks.
Yeah, agree. All right, so I'm going to try and get through some of these questions, and Michael, I'm going to throw some of them, not like actually throw, but like I'll ask you some of these. So what's your best advice when it comes to posting in different languages? So this is a tough one. I think that you should, you know, I think English for most firms and, you know, is going to be your primary language. But if there are specific things that you think are important to post in another language, you can also use showcase pages and have like, so I never want a firm to start like their, you know, like Morrison and Foerster main page and then Morrison and Foerster like Japan. You don't want to take away from the firm, but you can have a showcase page. You can also have specific initiatives, not necessarily on LinkedIn. Like, so I would say if it makes sense for your firm and its clients, you should post in other languages, just be careful. How do you manage to post things 7 to 11 times when your firm is overproducing content that people want posted ASAP to the firm's LinkedIn? Yes, this is my biggest issue. Okay, number one, you're not going to post everything 7 to 11 times. That's it. You can't. Certain things don't merit that. You're going to pick and choose the pieces, which are going to be thought leadership pieces. So let me give you an example, okay? Even like best lawyers awards that just came out. I'm like on the fence about how I feel about those. You do one post with every best lawyer, okay? You do a second post on your ones to watch. You do a third post on your lawyers of the year. That all together. Then you do a separate post on the lawyer of the year individually, okay? And then every single post links back to that original press release. I would try to tell a story in each of those posts about what a great year it was, why so many lawyers in the M&A practice got ranked, whatever it is. So it doesn't sound like everybody else's, but that should give you an example with a client alert. Here's what I would do. Take that one alert, post it the first time, okay? Second time, change the graphic, post a quote from the alert from the authors. Third time, a fact, a number, a call out. That's your image. Change up the text a little bit. Fourth post, you're going to maybe take an excerpt from it or key takeaways or make a list. And by the way, this is where AI can really help you. I know people, I didn't get into talk about AI today, but I know a lot of firms are really scared about how to use AI, but AI tools can help you repurpose your content in a matter of like seconds, actually. So I hope that gives you some inspiration. And I'll give you another example for lateral hires. You could do a post where the lateral joins the firm. It's a link to the release. Then it's a Q&A with that lawyer. Then it's 3 months later, looking at, what they love about the firm the most or something, right? Or people miss things. So you can take the same darn post and post it again too. Okay. Michael, how do we access the data you've gathered and know where the respective firms rank?
Well, gee, thank you for that one, Stephanie.
It was me.
We do offer the report for sale. It's accessible through our website, bticonsulting.com, or if you pop the name of the report into Google, usually it'll be your first hit. Benchmarking, law firm, LinkedIn performance, all the information, the firms being ranked, and you'll also find the benchmarks for each size cohort. So the second 100, the 31 to 100, the 30 plus, and you'll find a set of metrics for each one of those, so you can measure yourself to see exactly how you're doing and where that puts you against the other firms in the report. So it's been we released it about 2 weeks ago, and it's been a tremendous response.
Awesome.
These numbers aren't available anywhere else.
Michael, someone asked you, can you tell us the specific or approximate dates as to when the data was pulled for the survey?
The data cutoff was March 31, 2023. So we used the 12-month period going March 31 to March 31. So we include the first quarter because we found the third quarter was a very big posting month. So we decided to go out 1 quarter to be able to make sure we captured that and everything around that. So it's the 12-month period. The report shows the numbers for March 31, 2023, and the comparative numbers for March 31, 2022. And some of the metrics go back to March 31, 2021.
Yeah. Okay. Someone asked how many posts do you recommend per day? I would say 1. You could do 2, but for most firms, it's going to be 1. It depends on the size of the firm, though. Big firms, you're probably going to have several. Take my advice on this. Wait 2 hours in between posts. This can be difficult when you have someone posting in, Tokyo, and someone posting in San Francisco, and someone posting in New York. But you really don't. Again, you can't spam anybody, so I'm not worried about spamming people, but I do want you to give a little bit of time in between posts. It's just, it looks better for the firm, and it's better for your audience as well. Posting on weekends, yes or no? And if yes, what type of content have you found performs best? So it really ranges. You have to play around with your firm and see what resonates. I like to do sometimes softer news on the weekend, but sometimes I'll put alerts that people missed during the week. So I'll do a roundup of all of the client alerts and or blog posts that we published, and I'll do a digest of that on Saturday. And I'll do it either as a LinkedIn newsletter, which goes to every follower, or I will do it as a post. And I have a template, so I just plug it in. It's super easy, and I don't have to worry about that. But if you're not taking your pieces of content and pulling, and I think a lot of us did this during COVID when we had like thousands of alerts per day. If you're not doing a compilation of all of the alerts or blog posts you've done in a week or a month, depending on the volume your firm creates, you should be, okay? And let's just see if there are any others. Is there a way to determine if the activity on a firm page is new, organic, or if it's just their own employees and partners looking and clicking? No, I really wish there was. If anyone knows of a tool that does that, let me know. I know that there are ways to tell about your firm website, about who's clicking on things internally and who's not, depending if they're on the network or not. But to my knowledge, you're not able to tell who it is. And, you know, here's another thing of like, somebody asked me, a lawyer at another firm, he was like, well, what's the point of posting or investing in LinkedIn when only the people at the firm are liking the post? And I would tell you, what, number one, that's important because it goes to those people's connections. Number two, it's important because other people will see the post dependent on that. And it also shows that your employees are engaged and just, you know, again, you don't know who's looking at your content. The research is very good, but it's only as good as the interactions that we can tell in the followers. There's that whole silent audience of people who aren't compelled to like any post or like a firm. So you're creating content also for those people, okay?
Right. It's just Stephanie, I would also add the multiplier effect, because every employee, every partner, every attorney sends it out to their network when they like it. And second, clients are more impressed when they see a lot of likes. It says that a firm has, you know, it's this very, very nefarious, or very deceptive signal that says, hey, we all talk to each other, we all collaborate, versus not. It's very subtle.
It's very subtle. So, all right. And, you know, listen, I would say, like, you know, use your earned media. We pay PR firms a lot of money to get us great press coverage. Try to tell those stories differently. Try to tell them, you know, we're managing so many different things. We've got earned media, owned media, paid media. How do we balance all of the lawyers who are saying, I want my alert up yesterday? It's not easy. I know it's not easy, but with some of these tips, hopefully you will find a way to do this. I hope that this was valuable to you. The research doesn't lie. And it's nice to hear when the research backs up what I've been saying for a really long time. So thank you all for joining us today. You will get the slides, you will get the recording, and do reach out to Michael and I if you have any further questions. And I'll certainly reach out to Michael to buy the report. So thank you.
Bye-bye now.